You have Alzheimer's.
I understand that. That's my fear. Okay.
So
All
can,
right.
can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Well, I'm 64. I'm sorry, 74-year-old who has spent the last 6 or so years with Alzheimer's, and so as a result of that, I'm having to learn to work my way through the challenges that brings to bear. I'm very fortunate that I have a wife who's understanding, very knowledgeable, and fortunately we've been married since 1989, so we've been married a good long while, and she's guiding me through it and is having to guide herself through the challenges that comes with Alzheimer's. What do you think as far as, what do you think the other things that need to cover?
It's a pretty good intro.
Okay.
So what do you enjoy doing in your free time?
Well, up until a very short time ago, I had a dog, little Buddy, and unfortunately he passed away at age 17, and that's been a real hole. So I'm learning to cope with that. He really did fill a family hole for me. I have found that the Alzheimer's has hindered me from taking advantage of things that I used to do, which was I was a member of choir at church, the First Christian Church downtown. I was in the choir there, but unfortunately, because of Alzheimer's and everything else, it shut that down. So now I do puzzles, and thank God for James L. West. I mean, that's really, I can't overemphasize enough, and I'm not saying this because of where I am as far as this interview. It has made all the difference in the world. It's a compassionate, understanding organization, and has plenty of activities, a lot of which I really like. I like all of them, but some of them I like even better than others, and that helps me. It's developed a normalism, so I don't feel like I'm kind of out in left field. In addition to that, and importantly as well, is Angela has gone above and beyond the duty of being a wife. She is, if I had not had Angela with me, I would be in deep stuff. So that's another part of my life. Unfortunately, all my kids are out and about. I mean, they're Colorado, Indiana, Denton. They're all over the place. So that I haven't really had my family close by. We do correspond, and we thank goodness for the iPhone, where we can actually carry on conversations eye to eye and so on and so forth. That's really important. Since public affairs was my genre in the military, having good relationships is really important, and I'm fortunate that I have a family that has it's close-knit family, even though everybody's scattered everywhere. So that's kind of what I'm dealing with.
Okay. So are there things you find more difficult to do now than in the past?
Yeah, because of the Alzheimer's, there's a lot of things like cooking and other things that I used to be able to do that I just can't do now. Mainly, but a lot of that safety wise and otherwise. Making choices is hard. I could go to the refrigerator and know exactly what's in the refrigerator and, know what to pick out and so on and so forth. Now there's a challenge that comes with that as well. We're very fortunate, however, that we do live in close by a military facility because we got easy access to the commissary for getting food, and because of my veteran status, we've got a wonderful range of medical available to us. My big challenge right now, or besides the mental part, is my hip. That's really kind of slowed me down a little bit, and we're fortunate that we have some folks that we're working with in that regard. Dental was another thing that came up, and fortunately the VA did an extremely good job. I now have a full set of teeth that I can use, and there's, other than putting them in and taking them out, that's the only issue. That's not an issue. That's only work that you have to do with it. So that comes with the territory. And the reason that James L. West is so important in all this is the fact that the way your operation is the fact that it's compassionate, it's very helpful. It's not just a surface effort. I feel welcome, and two, there's a lot of things to do that are constructive. Just even the morning part, besides the big circle, which is very helpful with the exercising and so on and so forth, but also going over the daily chrono, staying up to current events. That really takes a lot of what I think some people have had to go through with Alzheimer's. They don't have that stimulation and that that's kind of presented to you. Now you have to do something with it, but that it's enjoyable, and people are patient, which is a big part of that.
So are there times of the day that are easier or harder for you?
Not really. All of the, and that's, I gotta, and I'm not just saying this because you represent James L. West. The day is very full, not too full, and it has activities that are meaningful, that help me feel like that I'm still connected, and that's a big deal. I think it would be real easy to just have a kind of a rote, activity schedule that was kind of the same every day, and for me, that's one, been encouraging. It makes me feel at the end of the day that I actually contributed something, rather than just kind of sat there and kind of soaked it in. And then the friendships that have been developed, and that's really important too. I mean, we haven't had friendships, this many friendships going on for quite some time, not because of anything bad. It's just getting, being settled and so forth, and then finding out that this was something that I was going to have to face. So this has been a very welcome, experience.
Come home tired.
Yeah, I do, in a good way. In a good way.
Okay. So do you ever find it hard to remember names or appointments?
Remembering names more than appointments, because Angela keeps me tuned in. We have a calendar on my iPhone, and I really do, I'm gonna wear this iPhone out, because that's something that I check, many times a day. I also talk to the staff here to let them know, look, guys, I'm not sitting back in the back reading emails and social media, but I do periodically check it just to get a check in my mind that I know where I am. Well, I know where I am, but that I know that I have things that are going on, and it helps me prepare for them in advance. And so that's another thing James L. West does, is allows that flexibility, and that's really helpful.
The name tags help.
Yeah, and absolutely, thanks. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. That's one you kind of take advantage of, but that's a big thing.
Okay.
And I'm to the point where there's a lot of names I know now that I probably don't need the thing, but if it can happen, and so it's good that they're there. So
Okay. Well, how do you feel when you forget something?
I'm a little bit frustrated. I've been fortunate up to this point to where I've drawn such a blank that it's just gone. So I haven't gotten to that point. I've had things that if someone asks me a question, to where I have to kind of either think it through and then answer, or say, let me check on that. Let me, and then go try to remember it, or do some sort of a research. That's another thing that the iPhone is good for, is being able to look things up. And that really does. I didn't realize how much that was going to help. I'm not only dependent on it. I mean, that's not the only thing that I can do to remember something, but having that ability to do that is a big deal.
Okay. So are there things that make you feel anxious or upset?
Not being able to drive.
Okay.
And that's not being upset about it. It's just frustrating, that it's frustrating too. One, it's inconvenient. It's inconvenient for her, because she ended up being the taxi driver. But at the same time, it is always that reminder that you got something that's wrong with you that's limited your activity. So that is a little frustrating, but it's not unbearable. That's the biggest thing through all of this that I've had, that's been the hardest for me to cope, is coming out of just a natural, flowing life, and having all these things. You kind of have to do something else to get the same thing done, or whatever it is. And so it's a little frustrating, but it's not unbearable, and it's certainly not something I lose a lot of sleep on. I don't. But it is frustrating.
So what makes you feel calm or happy?
Well, doing activities, staying active, is the best thing that I can do. Unfortunately, one of the other things which we just lost was our dog. That was a very big positive part of our life, and he was awesome. 17-year-old dog, lived through it all, and so that was a kind of a step back. It didn't keep me from other things. It's just that there was a sadness and a frustration that little thing that I could cuddle up with. Otherwise, poor Angela, she's the one that's always being hugged, cuddled, and everything, because there's nobody else there. There's nothing else to do. So, it's my mom has had Alzheimer's. I'm grateful. I'm sorry Mom had to go through what she had to go through. But I'm grateful that I haven't yet gotten as bad as she got. So I'm grateful for that. And the other thing is that being in Fort Worth is a bonus because of the medical facilities that are available. I mean, we have specialists for just about everything, and most of the needs that we have are close by. We don't have to do a lot of foreign travel to even to Arlington or Grand Prairie because it's all we're kind of in the middle of it here, so that's a good thing.
So, what are you most proud of in your life?
Well, first of all, having a wonderful wife, that's number one. But I'm proud to have had a productive career. I also, besides military, I got a degree in elementary and special ed. So I actually taught school for a little while. Wasn't very much because I was getting my commission and then going in the military by the time all of the college part is over. But I did get a chance to experience that. Felt really good. I mean, it was very satisfying, and so that helped ameliorate the kind of the experience. Let's see, what else were we talking about earlier?
Well, things that you're proud of, your kids and your jobs.
Oh,
and
sure, of course.
Yeah. Kids are all,
And that's obviously, thank you for reminding me of that.
nobody's in jail.
Yeah, nobody's in that track. Nobody's in jail. Most of the kids are in Colorado, so it's a good distance away. So that's I guess you could call it a disadvantage for being able to visit. And then got brothers and a sister who live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Don't get a chance to see them a lot, but they're there, and I know I can get to them. And I think they're a little, they know they're going to have to kind of get used to this too, But we have a pretty solid family unit, for that matter, and so that actually makes things easier to have that and know that you have that. Obviously, the ability to do a lot of traveling has been hindered to some degree, and that's something Andrew and I really enjoyed doing, and so that part, you just have to compensate for it, another way.
So, what do you wish that people understood better about you?
Boy. Well, first of all, I've found that when I've gotten in with a group, that I'm kind of taken as I am. I mean, I've never really picked up the fact that someone was concerned that I had Alzheimer's. Who, I have to treat them with good love. I've really not run into that, and I have friends out there, and so, from that standpoint, and that's something else James Elwes has done, is it's let me see that I can operate fairly normally in a social setting. I can participate. They probably get tired of me trying to answer all the questions, but that's a very positive thing for me. The fact that I can still manage to know things that are going on out in the world. You know, it's not like living in a tunnel to where the world's out here and you're kind of stuck in it. It's very participatory, and I think James Owas has done more for me in that regard as anything. Sitting in a circle, doing our little foot taps, I'm doing all this stuff and knowing that I can do that right along with everybody else, and that's a big deal. Big deal.
So, is there anything I didn't ask you about that you'd want to share or let people know?
What do you think, huh? Well, the reason I'm asking her is that she and I thought through, some things, and so if I can get any thoughts from her, it'll be helpful to broaden this discussion.
Well, I think something that's important about you still yet is that you're still a strong leader, and you love to sing, the karaoke and things like that. This has, you've mentioned how it's filled a void since you can't climb 3 flights of stairs to go up to sing in the choir.
I used to be in a choir at the church downtown, and that was a big deal. But they don't even have an elevator to get up to the top floor, and so that's the other thing is that I'm fighting this hip business and
something else that has been a positive development about this is that even though, as he's mentioned, it's harder for him to make decisions, he's not so bossy. He used to be relatively bossy, being, the colonel, and now he always asks my opinion and defers for just about everything. And that
I definitely rely on her for sanity.
Yeah, his mom, who also had Alzheimer's, they used to say about her that she had pleasant dementia. So as it progressed, she was still always very pleasant. I love you, you're so pretty, and stuff like that. And with John, he is very complimentary and appreciative. He's not ill-tempered. I've always said that I thought that his degree in special education has probably helped him with patience with me as well, because before John, although we've been married 36 years, I never had anybody that I could last with for more than 3 or 4 years, because I guess I drove him crazy. But him, he's very patient, and he's very caring. If I were sick, he loves to take care of me. He still feels bad if I'm sick, and he wants to take care of me. But then he forgets that I'm sick, and he wants help. So we go back and forth.
So how long have you been in the caregiving role?
Although he was first diagnosed in 2018, it's only been a little more serious for the past 5 years. And then the past 2 years, maybe 2.5 now, is when it became a little dangerous for him to drive. So his neurologist suggested that he stop. But he was now considered 100% disabled by the VA. 70% of it is due to Alzheimer's. And that was figured out by them with 5 or 6 visits to various psychologists and psychiatrists and things like that, about 2.5, 3 years ago. And there's a geriatric care team at the University of North Texas Health Science or Health Services, whatever it is. They suggested that we have an old house that was in the Fairmount area that's a couple of stories high, and it's got a lot of steps. They said move to a house that's got big rooms, that can accommodate eventual need for walkers and wheelchairs, things like that. Open floor plan, not something with the little rooms that old houses have. And
it was a 1908 house.
Oh.
and so moving into this one, also going through NCD, Neurological Consultants of Dallas, we're able to get rid of my shakes, which is a
Eccentric
big thing.
tremors, yeah.
And that's where I got my horns, but that the mechanisms are there, and it has, pretty much stopped it. So that's just another thing to not have to worry about or let it hinder you or whatever. So that's a good thing that was available, and
Yeah.
so.
So it was not that, well, it seems like, I guess it was already about a year and a half after we moved here that we found out that James O. West is going to move their day program to just a couple of streets away from where we bought this single story house that's got, oh yes, they wanted us to have room for a caretaker too. So this house met all of the criteria, plus our dog was getting old and he appreciated not having so many steps. But it's been mostly about 5 years, and it's gotten, he was in a 3-year test program for Eli Lilly donanemab,
Right.
a infusion that he had. Now that's been done since February of last year, and his memory has gotten worse after they stopped the infusions, but it was only a 3-year trial. So as it's gotten worse and been indicated by testing, I guess it's a progressive disease, but I'm glad that we moved where we are, and that we've got options.
So what made you notice the first signs of memory or cognitive issues?
I think I'd have to say it was when he would say I didn't tell him something, and he couldn't remember conversations. This was actually started back in about 2011, 2012. So earliest signs started back then, and I noticed he was having phone conversations with his boss, where the boss would say, how are you doing on such and such a project? And he would say, what are you talking about? He would not remember that they had a conversation, that there was a project coming due, and I wasn't going to interrupt that phone call, but I knew that they had talked about it. So he was forgetting conversations. Short-term memory loss is, something that I think was the most obviously apparent, and it used to make him angry that he would say, you didn't tell me that, or I didn't say that. Now he accepts that it probably happened if you say so. He's actually a lot easier to get along with, in some ways.
Yeah, there was a real frustration place. You always think, I've been pretty healthy my whole life.
And he's very smart.
And so it comes to a point where you just don't want to admit that you're not, 100% or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so getting past that, I think, was one of the biggest hurdles, because I really don't feel that way now.
Yes, but he did look into Alzheimer's drug trials. He did that on his own, and he even found one before he did the Eli Lilly for 3 years. And he did another one for about 8 months, and then they found that people were having brain bleeds, so they stopped that one early. And so he found another one. So he's doing what he can to maintain what he can, and I'm very proud of him for his initiative.
So what tasks or activities do you help with the most often?
Well, every day is his medications, because he used to, although he used to do that by himself, he would either sometimes double what he was supposed to do or forget, and it might even be a day or two. And then when he found that he wasn't taking his pills, he would get upset with himself. So I have to do that. I do all the laundry because he can't operate machinery very well anymore. He can go to it, and if I've got to walk him through to turn the dial this way, push the button here, I might as well do it myself. So
I can at least load the clothes into the barrel.
Yeah.
Thing. So
Mhm.
that,
and he folds towels, and he doesn't remember where things go for putting things away, but he can fold things, and he takes out the recycling. But he's never been good with finances, so we found that out in the first 5 years of marriage,
yeah, that's right.
that we were running out of money and we shouldn't have. So we
And
went to credit.
my first wife had run all the money too, so
Oh, I didn't know that.
so I was out of, I didn't have any practice, so, and that's not an excuse, that was just the way it was.
Okay, your starter wife.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, cooking, fixing his meals. He's only recently had the tremor surgery, so he wasn't able to even cut up his food, but, so he's now able to do that more. Meals, drinks, finances, laundry. He's really good at color coordination, so he can choose his own clothes most of the time. Or I'll
Every
sit
once in
him.
a while I'll miss the target, but I
Anything.
think for most of the times, I'm not gonna embarrass her going out in public, that's what I would have on.
Yeah, and I drive him everywhere, and I've never complained, although he's been disturbed about not being able to drive. I started volunteering to do the driving when his driving was starting to scare me. So I've told him, I will take you wherever you want to go and pick you up, and that won't be a problem, that you need to worry about it disturbing me, because I've never complained about taking him
Well,
somewhere.
and to me, that's another point I need to make to you as well, is that she has gone so far, let me say it the right way. She does so much. It's amazing, and so one of the few worries that I have right now is that she doesn't burn out
Oh, yeah.
through no fault of her own, because it's a lot of stuff, and she is proactive. She's not a wait for something and see if it's worth doing. She's ahead of the game,
Well,
and
so were you.
yeah. And so that's another thing that I really am conscious of, and I'm hoping that I'm keeping it in, kind of keep, and that's where James L. West comes into play in my thoughts, is because she doesn't have to worry about that for a good part of the day,
Yeah, thank goodness.
and that can't
He
help
is
but
so
be better.
happy when he starts getting ready a few hours before he's supposed to show up, and then if I text him and say, would you like an early pickup today, I'm in the area, he'll say, well, no, why don't you make it 5 or 5:30, we've got stuff going on. So I am just delighted, because, well, heck, I'm only a mile away. I'll just go home and I'll come back at 5:30 then. So it's fine. I am so glad that he's happy, and he comes home even though he just wants to go lay down or sit down. It's okay. And then he'll tell me, that it was a very good day. I'll say, what did you do? I don't know, but it was a good day. I'm glad you have a published schedule of events.
Yeah, and it's just so helpful, and your staff is
Phenomenal.
is awesome. It's just
They meet you at the door singing a song and stuff. They're happy, they're friendly, they're caring. When our dog died, they welcomed us bringing Buddy through with a wagon, and gave me a flower as we left, and took him around to have everybody pet him and say, you're a good boy. And it made his farewell, we call it, this little farewell party.
yeah, it was like a day
Very
before,
caring.
a day or so before he passed.
So have you noticed any, well, I think you mentioned this, there were some changes in how John communicates or expresses himself. You said some of them are positive.
Yes, yeah, they're positive that he's no longer angry about, he'll, if he's walking around the house a lot, I'll finally ask him, what are you looking for? And he'll tell me, and then I can help him. He loves to try to find things on his own, but you know, I used to call him the finder, because he was so good at finding things, and he also was the packer, you know, putting things away. Those are skills that are gone right now.
You know, within the confines of like one dresser, you know, I've got it organized in such an easy way that I know which drawer the underwear's in. I know which drawer
Yes, of your own, but you always have to ask me, where do you want your socks?
Yeah.
It's always the same place, but he can't remember where the trash bags are. So he can take out the trash, but he can't figure out where the trash bags are to put it in a new bag. And I told him he can load the dishwasher, but when he puts things away, I can't find them because they go all kinds of places. So we've had to make some adjustments. I said, do not unload the dishwasher, please. You know, things go missing for weeks. You know, measuring spoons, whatever. They're small, easy to put somewhere, and it might take a long time. I have to buy another pair, another set of measuring spoons.
So have there been any safety issues other than driving, such as wandering, you mentioned forgetting medication or leaving appliances on?
Well, he can't figure out how to turn on. We have an induction stove, and it's the person who owned the house before us had an autistic child. So there's like 4 or 5 steps you have to go through. You turn off the lock, then you have to put an on button, then you have to push the burner button, then you push a slide. He can't do all that, so there's no safety issue there. That sounded pretty good.
That was opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yeah, but he doesn't wander, and he used to, until this year, he used to ride a tricycle to the dog park, which was only a block and a half away, but with the wagon attached to the back for the dog. But then he's got hip problems, and his joints are a mess at the moment, you know, a little bit at a time. We've been fixing one thing. He's gonna be the bionic man, you know.
And we got good bone, whatever they are, doctors that,
Yeah, orthopedics.
yeah, orthopedics.
And sports doctor. And
Yeah, they're good to have. They're good if they're out there, because that'll help that part. So you don't have to worry about that aspect of it.
Yeah, but so far, the VA sends a social worker around. They suggested that I put all his medications in a lock box. Well, he doesn't get into his medications. He leaves that completely alone. So when they come around, I put it in a lock box. But otherwise, it's just bother to. Now he has an aunt, Martha, that she got into her medications, and she thought they took too much room, so she poured all of them into one big jar to save room. Her daughter, who's a nurse, freaked out. So he's not like that. But I know that this is a degenerative thing, so it might happen, but I'll keep an eye on if there's more in the way of safety concerns. But right now, he loves being taken care of.
Well, then on that note, how do you support his sense of dignity and independence?
Well, just as he's very complimentary to me, I try to recognize his skills and his contributions, whether it be, repetitive chores of bagging up snacks or folding the clothes, putting them away, things like that. And when he's chosen a lovely outfit for the day. So I think I try to support him and encourage him, and let him know that I'm delighted that he's so happy to come here. And then when he does tell me about that he likes encouraging the other people, I think that's a real skill. He's a good team builder and team player. He was always like that, even as a senior officer. All of his people really liked him, and said that he was very encouraging to them. So that's something that we try to reflect towards one another.
So what are your biggest challenges right now as a caregiver?
Right now the biggest challenge I have is that I haven't been able to. We tried having him go to a dementia care place for a week, but he's not ready for that, and he wasn't.
That's the other James L. West
Yeah,
place.
He missed the activities here terribly. They didn't have they're for people who are further along in their dementia, and so
Yeah, it was really kind of there were two people in the room, which seemed to be fairly normal, and so I really ended up with so little to do that I just kept the TV on and laid in bed and got up. I didn't just lay there for a minute, but
he said my visits were the only thing that made it bearable, but I was really sick that week. But he was whining so much, when are you coming?
that's
So
true.
So I would drag myself there to come and visit and take him out to the, garden and stay for lunch or dinner or something like that. And but it was really, he's not at a stage to where respite works out that well for him to go somewhere. Now I wanted to go on a trip in September. So, what would be ideal is if I had a caregiver that could be with him for breakfast and supper, but they could transport him to the day program, because then he would be happy all day long, but then they would take him home and prepare a meal and make sure that he took his pills, because he won't remember to eat and he won't remember his pills and he can't drive. So I need evening care for a few days, and I haven't figured that one out yet.
And I'm still to the point that I can find my clothes and the top of chest drawers we have and everything else. I can find my clothes. I do it. I mean, I necessarily, get it all matching or whatever.
Well, yeah, you do a good job with selecting.
But doing that and then putting the stuff in the dirty clothes, I can do that. So it's not it's not a type of thing. It's
And you're not lost, and
yeah.
you can shower yourself.
That's right.
This was a problem before he started James West. We would have arguments about taking a shower. Now he wants to be clean and presentable to come to James L. West. I had to put it on the calendar, shower every couple of days. And he would argue that he's already done that, and I'd say no, because it doesn't say done on your calendar, so that means you didn't, and so you need one. But now I don't have to suggest it anymore. Not suggest it, but insist upon it, because he's very, now he wants to be pleasant around other people.
It's really weird to know that was stuff that I was missing. I would, like going like, are you kidding me, John? I mean, how could you, how could you forget, how could you this, and that's where,
Well, now you have good routine.
well, that's true, and so that's where she has come in and really kind of normalized the experience to where, it's not a perfect thing, but, I keep my clothes, in the closet, in a specific section. I can go in and get clothes. For most times, I think I match things fairly well, but she.
And one of the good things is he wears a Fitbit. So this going around the house looking for things has increased his step count. So
Yeah, that's true.
it's not all bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, he can outwalk me a day, just even if he's just stayed home.
So how are you taking care of your own emotional and physical health?
Well, something that's helped me a lot is that our youngest son he's bought my Fitbit, my cell phone, and a membership to Orange Theory, which is normally people that are 20, 30, 40, they're a few decades younger than me, but except for the week or so that I was really sick, I've been taking high intensity training at Orange Theory, and that's helped me a lot. And I still like to write, so I do writing. I was a speechwriter for the Department of Defense, and I keep contact with my friends, mostly who are in San Antonio. We lived in a retirement community for 9 years prior to COVID.
It's called the Army Residence Community down there. And
It was wonderful, but then COVID hit and people were dying. So we moved out with our kids' encouragement, because there was no vaccine, at that time. And we haven't moved back. And they said that they were having to raise the rates anyway because of the washing doorknobs and, things like that. So it seemed to be perfect timing in some ways too.
Yeah.
Because then his physical ailments started getting worse with knees and feet and tremors, and all of that's been something we can handle locally. And then James L. West opened, so it was just
Providential.
COVID was not a blessing, but moving was a blessing.
So what should other people know? Oh, sorry. What should other people know in order to provide respectful, person-centered care?
That there are a myriad of agencies and options that are available. Even taking him to the UNT, the geriatric team, after his last visit a week or so ago, they've had the Texas Agency for Aging call me up and offer housekeeping for 40 hours that I would have to use in 2 months. I didn't know they were going to do that. And then there's the VA. Well, that's not for everybody, but that's something that we didn't know until we moved back up here after COVID, that, well, the VA said, why have you taken so long? Why did you not contact us sooner? And
So we didn't know it's available.
they've increased his disability, and we didn't know they would mail. They said, what kind of drugs are you taking? So I made a list of everything, and then I didn't know the doctor was going to mail everything to our house. We would not have to even drive to the base anymore, and then there's this Medicare guide program that has helped pay for respite care and $2,500 a year, which they said translates to about 6 days or 65 hours, something like that, if it's at home care. And then James L. West has probably 4 or 5 different training classes every week, which is at no additional charge, whether they're online or in person, and social worker visit counseling, you know, that you can do in person. There's just more support available than I would have ever imagined. When his mom had Alzheimer's,
It just wasn't available.
yeah, well,
I mean,
they did have someone who would come and exercise
That's true.
with her
That's true.
once a week, and she was on Meals on Wheels. But he had 5 siblings. We tried taking turns. Well, that doesn't work out real well because some of the siblings are not very helpful. Only 2 out of 6. The others forget.
2 out of 5.
Well, 6 includes you.
Well, yeah, I'm not, right off the bat.
Yeah. But you don't have to rely on,
That's true.
you know, your children or your siblings. Maybe you used to, but now there's, I guess because of the boomer generation, there's a lot more focus on public support. I hope that keeps up, because I know various programs are getting cut back, but for now, it's pretty good.
Anything else that I should ask you that you want to share about caregiving or what you've been through?
Mm. Well, I can't think of anything that Yeah. I thought that it was a wonderful preparation for this interview, letting us know the things we would be talking about. And I appreciate that the knowledge you have is so much more than we do. You know, you've got years of experience and professional training. So thank you for sharing that and for, you know.
I was going to say, I've learned so much in this hour just talking to you all.